Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Norman Oliver. You're watching the most talked about, the hottest show in the city of Wilmington. Everybody's on it. Before I begin, let me give a shout out to Miss Maddie and Sister Sarah. I told you I always take care of my seniors. I got that out the way, so you get your shout outs, so you don't have to keep calling me. A couple things that's going on. Besides things are heating up in city politics, people are running for all kinds of stuff. Woo, it's getting hot. So a couple things, right? Let me talk about Black Lives Matter first, right? And I'm all for Black Lives Matter. I think that police brutality ought to be knocked out. It's too much, just craziness. But in saying that, last week we had 5 youth from 15 to 10, 15 years old, right? 10 to 15, that were shot on a basketball court on the east side. I would like to see, Bakib, I would like to see, again, this is not a shot, this is not a punch at anybody, but I would join a march. I would join a march if we march against that, about shootings in our communities, black on black shootings. Especially not, 10 years old, and where's the outrage? I'm not on Facebook, but I hear a few people. I challenge guys who I consider also guys who follow in my footsteps, especially basketball, Duffy Samuels, Cooley, Droop, then like guys like T. Warren, D. Reed, Skills. Why don't you guys organize a march, right? Why don't we organize a march about that? Then I want to march. My feet hurt. I'm marching about stuff that's happening, and I'm talking about stuff that's happening in our community because I'm not afraid to talk about it. That's real talk. I understand that there's another march on 24th Street. Let's march in Hocassin. Rather than keep marching in these areas, march where people who don't know what's going on, okay? Because I'm getting a little pissed about that. I'm getting a little pissed. And my good friend, let me change the subject. My friend, right, Calvin Brown called me, texted me, and we talked the other night. Cal was like, no, make sure you say something nice. I'm always going to say something nice about Calvin Brown. Calvin Brown is a friend. I'm not like a farewell friendly guy, because the guy's a Republican, because the guy's an independent. This guy said something 20 years ago, and I try to put him in jail. I'm not like that, So we're going to have fun. And by the way, like I said, I was invited to a political party, so I accept the invitation. Thank you. And we're going to have a lot of candidates on. People who I like, by the way. Since I'm paying for the show, I'm paying for the damn show, so I have people on that I like. And by the way, I really don't talk about people. Really, I don't. I had that one incident where someone attacked me, so I had to respond. But other than that, I don't talk about. I'm a fair. I like to win, but I'm fair. How you doing, Howard Mills? After you heard all that stuff,
I'm doing well, my brother. Truly in agreement with you. I feel the same way. In reference to the Black Lives Matter, I was working with a young man right here in our community, 13-year-old Jeremiah Redding. I was his therapist. Shot in the back of the head. There was no march for him, and then those are the kind of things that I feel like we as a community need to rally around. No disrespect to George Floyd, but we got murders happening right here in my community, and I think that we could stand up and do a little bit more about it. Like I said, especially when it comes to our children, 10 years old.
That's incredible,
court.
Right?
It's uncalled for, and it's saddening, it's sickening, and we have to do something about it. It takes more than marches. It takes some dedicated action, some true community leadership.
I'm glad you brought up Jeremiah, because I had this principal on last week,
Yes.
who was Butch Ingram, and we were talking about that same thing. And I just think that we should be outraged. It's shooting. It's like it's the new norm, right? So they have a shooting. Okay, 5 people got shot. Good. Okay, let's march and go attack a couple black cops who we don't like. Okay, I get it, right? And I don't want anybody to think that I don't get it. I get it. But why aren't we having signs up, right? Why weren't they at Bancroft basketball court? If this classic was still going on, we would be organizing.
Yes.
Albert, tell me this. Why are you running for office, bro?
That's a piece of it right there. Like I said, I'm a licensed-based social worker, been working in the community with at-risk youth and their families for the past 30-plus years, and that's my drive. That's my motivation. I'm tired of seeing our children pass away. There's so much that could be done in reference to community justice, to education. It's just so many fronts, and I just feel like I'm the best candidate for that district. I just feel like we aren't being represented. A lot of people, when I'm knocking on doors right now, they don't even know who their city council person is, and I just feel like that voice is missing, and I'm ready to be that voice. I feel like my time in the community, my time as an Iraq war veteran, I think that serves me in that leadership skills, and I'm ready to be provide some true, transparent leadership. That dedication that I think is truly missing right now from that position, to bring some integrity back to the city government, to be able to work together, not just all this bickering and back and forth, but to pass some true legislation and get things done.
Wow, thank you so very much. Bregetta Fields, Bregetta, your aunt, the late Fräulein Trotter, and your mother were very good friends of mine. And obviously I can't meet with you. I meet with you and things happen miraculously.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm well.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me what you got going on.
Okay. Well, as you stated, Fräulein Trotter is my late aunt, and Mercedes Fields is my mother. She just passed March the 21st. So thank you for your condolences. I'd like to thank I'd like to thank the City of Wilmington Parks and Recreation. I'd like to thank you, your organization. I'd like to thank everyone in Newcastle County and throughout the state of Delaware for their condolences and prayers during the loss of my mother. That is very much appreciated from me and my family. A little bit about me: community work, community engagement, politics. That's something that I've done ever since I was a young child, and I'm talking about 5, 6 years old. I was going to meetings along with my aunt and my mother. So doing community outreach, going to meetings, understanding the gist of what's going on in meetings, what's being said, like that was something that was bred in me. So that's where it comes from. It comes from that legacy. They taught me what I needed to know in order for me to take this step that I'm taking now as far as running for City Council 5th District. A little bit about me: I grew up in West Center City, the 5th District. I know there's a lot of there's different neighborhoods throughout the 5th District, and I have been privy to be a part of each one of them.
Let me ask you a question. I don't want to cut you off. If you were to point out one of the more pressing issues in your district, what would you say it was?
One of the most pressing issues right now would be, I would say, you can. I mean, it's probably balance. Really, it's the crime, with the killings, and then home ownership, the blight, the housing issues that's in that district. It's unbelievable. Right now, we have 90% of renters, and the rest is homeowners. Wow. So with that being said, I'm definitely working towards legislation as far as affordable housing for those who want to own homes, that want to leave their children something, and who wants to take pride in their neighborhood.
Albert, what makes you different than the person who's sitting in the seat now? What would you say the differences in philosophy, if there's any? Albert?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I said Albert.
I didn't hear the Albert.
No, that's
part.
okay. So Albert, if you were to say something was different, right? What difference would it be for you, the person who's representing that district now, to and you? Is there any difference?
Big difference. I mean, one, the community engagement, my level of commitment. I've been here in this community. I've continued to be in the community, very, very active community engagement, very active in participating in a civic association, community service drives every other Saturday morning, cleaning up in my neighborhood. I've active with the children, running tutoring and mentoring programs. I'm in my neighborhood, and I'm accessible to my neighbors. My neighbors come and speak to me. I return calls. Even when my brother was city councilman, I would get calls, can you do this, can you do that, or can you tell my brother this? Sometimes I would end up handling those problems. I mean, I just think that level of commitment and engagement, that's who my family is, that's who I am, and that's the big difference right there. I've never seen, other than at the civic association, I've never seen my current city council person in the streets in the 1st District.
Because this is Community Crossfire, we do keep it real. How frustrating was you going through that process of selecting a person, and really some council members who, I mean, I don't want to get too deep, but their resume is nowhere near yours, but wanted to see your resume.
I
was
agree.
that frustrating?
It was very frustrating, but at the same time, it became motivation, and I knew this day would come when they won't have a say in it. My residents, the people who I speak for, the families that I serve, they will have a voice, and they won't be able to say anything. And then when I'm on council, they'll have to match the work that I do, because I'm here to work. I'm not just going to be a councilman that sits here. I'm going to be a leader, the same way my brother was on council. Some of those members on council were on council before my brother, but he ended up being a pro temp. Why? Because of his work. And we're cut from the same cloth, and I plan to do the same work, that same level of leadership, experience, and dedication it will happen, and it's nothing they can do about it.
I like that. But tell me about your difference. What separates you from the guy who's sitting in there now and what you're planning on doing?
Just the ability to come to the table, sit at the table, and agree to disagree, and not have any personal. I'm not going to vote against something because I have a personal vendetta against somebody. I'm going to make sure that whatever type of legislation I do pass, it benefits the 5th district first. I'm going to focus on the 5th district, and that's the issue. I'm a resident of 5th district, as you know, so it's not being communicated. And without legislation that's being passed, that's being communicated to us, we're not educated either. So I plan on communicating and educating the residents throughout the 5th district, as well as working on building the block captain association as well. Just getting more residents involved in what's going on in the district. There's no way a city council person can run their district without the help of their constituents. You need somebody that's going to be your ears and your eyes on the streets when you're not there. There is no I in team. You have to be able to work with the people that you're working with when you're passing legislation, and you have to make sure and ensure that your residents are well informed about what's happening, and they tell you what's going on, so that you don't lose out. And you can't just use social media, and you just can't. You have to get out there. You have to talk to people, like Al said. Some people, I'm canvassing, putting things out. People don't even know who they are. They really thought that Prado was still their council person.
Wow.
So it's just that it's just they're saying nothing's been changed in the last 4 years. So why not run? I know I can make a change.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, I got you fired up. I was like, hey, okay, thank you. You want to sit in this seat? Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Crossfire, and we are going to have candidates. Hey, Albert, I did not know you served in the Iraq War.
I did. Yes, I did.
Tell me about that.
It's a difficult time. It was very challenging, but it was something that my brother and I went off to college for our freshman year. And when we returned back home, we didn't want to go to college. And my mother said, no, you're either going back to school or you're going into the service. And so we ended up going into the service. We got into it with, we were running track in Missouri in this little small school. And he was letting these other folks run that we were, better than. And we just didn't want to go back. We were upset with the coach and didn't like the school. So we didn't go back, and ended up in the military and went in to get, like I said, to get some college money to move forward, and end up being in the desert fighting in the war, But it was part of that selfless service, though, and it puts that in you. And when you see these people who are just selfish and don't know anything about service, and it makes you understand why you make those kind of sacrifices.
Hey, another thing, I'm going to ask Bregetta a separate question because we had a few minutes left. Hicks Anderson, when you look at that legacy, and when you talk about it as your father, what comes to mind?
Just that community commitment. I can recall vividly many a days he would get a call at the house, and it could be 11, midnight. And he would get up out of that bed. Hicks, they got my son to the police station. He was running down, to the police station. I've met hundreds of thousands of people since he's passed away, and everybody has their own little Hicks story. And principals would tell me how he would flip their desks and get kids back into school, and all the things he did. And it's just beautiful now because the way the tables rotate, and now I'm getting them calls. My son is locked up, and what can you do? Or I got an expulsion hearing tomorrow. Can you help my kid? That kind of thing. And it's just beautiful to be able to have that legacy to stand on, and his level of commitment, and to see it not wavering with my brother and I here doing the exact same thing for the exact same communities. And it's a beautiful feeling, and knowing that you're standing on shoulders, and one day my son and my nephews will be standing on these shoulders, thinking, oh, my uncle and my pop did some wonderful things, and that's just all a tribute to our family. That's the way we were raised. My grandmother was a foster mother. My mother worked with foster kids now. So we're just come from a giving, caring family, and always about giving back and trying to make sure it's better for the next generation. And that's the legacy that I want to be a part of.
Well, thank you so very much. Bregetta, I'm going to ask you the same question in a different kind of way. When you think of Fraulein Trotter and Mercedes Fields, people who were martyrs, people who were heroes in the West Center City area, what legacy, or what do you think you have to do to keep up that legacy?
First of all, those are some hard shoes to fill.
Right.
But honestly, they taught me well. there's nothing else I can say is that taught me well. As far as like giving away clothes and doing food, we've been doing that for years. Some people just started that. We've been doing it for a very long time. So, I applaud anybody that decides to give out food and clothing, but we've been doing that for a long time, and we're still going to continue that. As far as the legacy, I mean, the community, family, knowing your neighbors, knowing who's in your neighborhood, knowing that you're accessible. It's funny that Al said that, because I can remember when my mom was in the hospital, they called her to find out, well, what are we going to do in West Center City since this COVID-19 is coming? Where are we going to go, Miss Phil? What kind of food? And I had to answer the phone. I'm like, right now she's just not able to talk, but let me see what I can do. Let me see who I can connect you to. So, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And I'm just saying, it's just whatever is born in, whatever is taught to us, that's what we give back. So it's not going to stop. Now, is this torch heavy? Yes, it is. But guess what? They gave me enough strength, enough power, enough wisdom and knowledge to handle it. So I got this.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank you both for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. You're watching Community Crossfire, another point of view. And yes, it's getting steamy. And we're not running from anyone. We're here to stay. And lots of people are watching, because I tell you, when I tell you that now, phone calls, emails, text messages. Can this person come on? Oh, we want to do this. We want to debate. And we will start having debates. Maybe I'll get Calvin Brown and Ciro and Spignola. How about those three Republicans? How about that? And I think they're going to do Pazicki Corner. It's all kinds of stuff, since you can't curse on here. It's starting to happen in our community. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Community Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Norman Oliver. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most talked about, the hottest show back on Channel 28. And everybody's watching. Not only that, they're watching on DETV, watching on YouTube, watching on Twitter, watching on Facebook Live, because people want to listen and find out what's going on. And I am the voice of reason. I am the one who gives you the truth and justice. I should have been with my other hat, Stormin, the guy who brings it real. I gotta. If somebody find Herman Holloway Jr., I gotta get Herman Holloway Jr. on here, shake some things up so he can give us some history. But I was talking this week. I've talked the last 2 weeks. A guy, T. Warren. I like T. Warren an awful lot. T. Warren's an incredible guy, and I just, some people do have knowledge, even if they're a little younger, and he's level-headed. I like talking to level-headed people. Skills a lot of guys, a lot of these barbers. But now I got Albert's brother, Nnamdi, our state representative, and my brother, Robert Oliver, and they have a lot to say, because we are going to continue to keep this dialogue going. So, Nnamdi, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Brother Norm. How are you, sir?
Man, first of all, thank you for doing such a fabulous job in your first term. You didn't feel like a freshman, you felt like a seasoned veteran.
Absolutely, and a lot of respect for the whole Delaware Legislative Black Caucus, our Madam Stephanie Bolden, and all of the members. But really, this true cohesive unit. We stayed together, stayed focused down there with the mission to represent our city and the people of our communities in Dover, to give them a voice and do the best we could to bring forth legislation and policy that impacts our communities. And I think we've been very successful this first term.
If there was something that you could point to, what's different being a city councilman to being a state representative?
Honestly, it just works the way it's supposed to work. If I got an ideal for legislation, I remember being on city council when they had the clothing bins all around the city. And I'm like, we need to do something. I was over in Jersey and they had a permit process. I banged my head against the wall trying to get our L&I department just to do the same thing. But, down in Dover, I got an ideal for legislation. People research it for you. Legislators, they get with you. They bring it back to you. They draft you some legislation and you present it in committee. That's the way it should be.
Right.
And to bring forth ideals. And just truly the biggest difference, one of the things that I was grateful to get off city council when I did, is just the change for city council and truly being a member of the General Assembly. There is a certain level of respect for the body itself. Wow. And what it means to be a member of the House of Representatives and on the floor of the Senate. It means something as a distinction and it's an honor, and you carry yourself in a certain way.
And that type of prestige and just respect for the office was lost on city council. And I'm hoping that a lot of new members get on there so we can bring that back.
I was going to say, so you were alluding to you felt some members didn't take honor or in that position, like, explain.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that I remember, frankly, I mean, so it was 4 years ago. It was around this time after the primary election. I had went to Africa that December, and I came back, and it was almost like a coup. You know, Madam President, we weren't even in office yet, and it was already people were trying to take her power and authority as the first female president of city council, trying to take authority from her.
African American at that.
African American, and doing the same thing that every male president had done before her, appointing committee chairs, this and that, and they're telling her what she can and can't do. And I mean, it was just so disrespectful, the level of disrespect for Madam President Shabazz, that, I mean, we tried to fight as best we could for her, but it was taking away energy from what we needed to be doing, really having legislation and conversations about the issues in our community. We weren't, because we were spending so much time with this unneeded aggravation and nonsense. So we really need a new council. We need good members. Your brother Oliver here, I've known him from years for his work inside the school. It's that commitment to our communities, to our children, to the future that we truly need on council.
Thank you. And Rob, thanks you, Nnamdi, for throwing this to Rob. My brother Rob, who called me and said, Norm, I'm interested in running for city council at large, because of course he lives in the same district as my sister. He wouldn't want to do that. And he's been burning to run for council for a while. And Rob, tell people a little bit about yourself, because, you know, they see Xanthia and myself, but you really are the glue in our family. So tell people a little bit about yourself who don't know.
Well, Norm, you know, I'm kind of behind the scenes person, really never wanted to jump out in front of it. Felt like I can get a lot done behind the scenes without a lot of noise and fanfare. And thank God that you and Xanthia has done a tremendous amount of work, in not only in the city, but you just yourself with your community efforts, and me working with you, whether it was a Storm and Classic, whether it's a turkey drive, whether it's the mentoring program. This has always been about our youngsters. And I've been in the school district for just a number of years, don't want to say, but a long time. Been at Warner Elementary with a great principal over there, Dr. Newton, superintendent, Mr. Darrell Green. We have to, and I say that with strongly as I can, have to be more active in terms of what our youngsters need in education in this city. We cannot continue to sit back and allow 40% or so of our youngsters to drop out before high school. We have to do something in the job area, mental health area. These are things that I just believe in, that I think that we can work together on council. I'm not there to fight anybody. Matter of fact, somebody asked me who I was running against, and I said, I'm not running against anybody. I'm running for votes. Your vote on city council to make me a part of the solution and not the problem. And so I come on board with just what I know and what I believe in terms of how we can help the people and the citizens of this city move this city forward. And I'm going to just stand right on that, because that's what I believe.
Hey, Rob, I bet you people don't know that your history with the Boy Scouts of America.
Hey, I served with them for 12 years, retired with them. And
you were in Virginia, right?
I was in Virginia for 8 years, in Baltimore for 4, directing for the Boy Scouts. And I wasn't a Boy Scout, but I knew how to recruit people and raise money. So that kind of gave me a strong in with them. And I thank God for that opportunity, because I met some tremendous volunteers from all walks of life, all races and creeds and colors, that allowed me to just build my own character to keep me moving forward in that. I came back here when you decided to run for office, and I've been in the education really ever since, and that's been a tremendous thing. I assistant coach boys basketball at AI High School, and of course they won state championship in '99, and that was like incredible to come back and see those youngsters that we started out in 9th grade, and by the senior year they won everything. That was truly nice. So, and then I see their kids now that come through Warner, and now they grown men, and some cases grown women, that now their kids are coming to Warner now, and they're saying, hey, that's Mr. Oliver. You know, they still call me Mr. Oliver. So, and I'm like, that's pretty nice. So,
See, now you're telling your age.
this is true. This is true.
You started out like, I don't want to do that. Now you're saying that you were born in 1946.
Norman, you don't have to go there. You don't have to go there.
Hey, Nnamdi, tell me, what's the piece of legislation that you passed that you're most proud of?
Will be
or co-sponsor, whatever.
I mean, the sponsor, direct sponsorship, the main thing was focused on education, of course, here in the city of Wilmington. We have this 4-district model, which everyone knows have been a failure for the past 40 plus years, and it needs to be fixed. Everyone knows it needs to be fixed, regardless of what category, the bottom of the barrel. There are Wilmington schools, and our children aren't being served. So we're trying to get to the understanding of what we need to do to fix this district model. So we put forth legislation that created the Reading Consortium for Education Equity. And one of the mandates is not only to look at redistricting in the city, but also about funding for the schools, look at the Newcastle County tax pool that pays for the schools. We're also looking into the funding. I mean, the unique needs of our schools to ensure that our students and families and our schools themselves, the families and the students, have the resources that they need to be successful. So that would probably be one of the key pieces of legislation. I mean, that's the most significant piece of legislation in education in the past 40 years in our state. And that was unanimously passed in the House for Republicans and Democrats. And then just recently we passed the bill for the chokeholds. And that passed also unanimously for that if a police officer uses a chokehold and it causes death or harm, he or she will receive a felony charge. So that's really something. I mean, and that too, again, was passed with all the votes in the House, both Republican and Democrat. So it really says a lot. And that was a part of our Justice for All agenda from the Black Caucus.
Rob, what would you like to see? Is there any legislation or anything I mean, of course, you're not on council.
Well,
but what's some stuff you think about?
I'm not there yet, but I would like to just enhance the community policing piece. I mean, I was over in the Triangle area, and I spoke to a lady over there who indicated when I mentioned her about community policing, she said, well, community policing is in this area. They do get out and talk to us over here. And I said, wow. I live on Vanover Avenue and I see them there, but they don't get out and talk to us. And I wave to them all the time. But I think if you are an officer that's assigned to an area, you should know not just the merchants in that area, and we need the merchants, but you need to talk to the citizens in that area too. Because if, hey, I'm Rob Oliver on the block and everybody know I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I did have one officer who did come past, and he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan too, but he blew to me from the horn. I mean, from his car to say, hey, I'm a Steelers fan too. I'm like, hey, don't blow to me. Get on out and let's talk. I would love to see.
I was going to say cut.
Well, we know you're a Cincinnati Bengal fan, so we're not going to hold it against you.
Let them talk.
But I would just love to see those gentlemen and ladies, walk that neighborhood.
That's good.
And meet with some of those people there.
Hey, Bob, again, I know you're just getting into this, but you'll be running citywide. How do you deal with so many different communities with so many different issues? 40 acres would be different than Southbridge.
Well,
Southbridge would be
the
different.
best part about it is that communication. You have to be able to know what someone from Browntown is thinking, what someone from Southbridge is thinking, someone from the east side is thinking. It may not all be the same thing, but you have to be able to talk to those constituents and understand what they're feeling and see if we can't build a coalition that way.
Hey, Nnamdi, tell me a little bit about some of your civic duties or some stuff that you've been involved with outside of legislation, outside of city councilman or a state representative, some community involvement.
Well, community involvement, I mean, first and foremost, as an artist and I say a civic artist, my brother and I are poet laureates for the state of Delaware. And we just recently won a National Poet Laureate Award. We're giving $50,000 to implement a project. Our project is geared toward veterans and also for children and communities who've been impacted by gun violence. So we started the project a couple weeks ago. We just finished the second week of hosting workshops with students, so working with students. And we're going to work with them all throughout the remainder of the year in veterans. And then in April of next year, we're going to have the first ever poetry festival here in the city of Wilmington. And we're gearing to have these students and veterans all sharing their work, bringing in some national talent. and just geared toward making a difference, showing people how the arts can be impactful, not only for their lives, but truly impacting change within their communities and families as well.
Thank you. Perhaps tell me a little bit about your civics and some of the organizations you're part of, involved with.
Well, of course, I'm a member of the Monday Club, which is the oldest social club in the city, probably in the country. They've been around since 1876, members from all walks of life. And the motto is not only to uplift themselves, but uplift the community. The scholarships we give out, the baseball mentoring that we do, Little League baseball in the city. I'm a big baseball fan. Love to see baseball in the city. The mentoring program that, of course, you do, Norman. It's just beautiful that when you see those kids light up because they got somebody helping them. And I look at that as someone helped me. And I can never forget the Elsies and Mr. Gator Lewis and those
you're going
folks.
way back now, yeah.
That really, even the Hicks Anderson. I mean, that was there to say, hey, they watched out for you like you was their son, and that was something special to me. And I say to the kids, hey, I'm your parent when they're not here, and I'm gonna make sure you try to do the right thing while they're not here.
Well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on, and ladies and gentlemen, keep tuning in to Community Crossfire. We are the voice of reason, the voice of hope, the voice for the hopeless, the faceless. And I'm Stormy Norman, and I'll be here. So we'll come right back. Welcome back to Community Crossfire, another point of view. I'm your host, Norman Oliver. You're watching Community Crossfire, and we are on fire. I do miss my man, Jermaine. Little Jermaine, how you doing? Hope you're having fun. Next week's show is going to be exciting, too. We have County Executive Matt Myers. We have the president of Delaware State University, Dr. Tony Allen. We have Senator Tizzy Lockman. We keep a lineup coming. We keep them coming. We in a fight, right? Now we have a guy who's running for president of County Council, my good friend, Ciro Poppiti. How you doing, Ciro?
Doing great, Norman. Thank you for having me tonight. Actually, it's been 10 years since I've been on Community Crossfire. Great to be back.
Wow. See, I bring you back to life, man.
Yes, you do, in many ways, my friend.
Hey, tell me this. You had an incredible event last night. Was that your announcement?
Yeah, we had a formal kickoff last night. It was great to see so many friends from all different walks of life throughout our county. And we needed to have a kickoff to remind folks there is an election for president of county council. And there is a clear choice this year between the current incumbent and myself. And just want to say thank you to everyone who came out and bolstered our team. We have support throughout this county. We thank you. The Poppiti family thanks you. The Poppiti family loves you. Appreciate it.
Hold on. You said a clear choice? Explain.
Well, I'm running, and I want to back up for a second. The folks who are watching this, I have to really thank them because they've been with me for 10 years. I have a dream job being the Register of Wills for Newcastle County, a job that I love, but I have to take a step now, and the time is now because we need leadership in our county council. We need someone who is going to fight for the values that we collectively share, especially from our great city of Wilmington. And we need someone who will bring ethics, integrity, honor back to the office. We need someone who's going to fight for our seniors. We need someone who is going to fight for Wilmington, fight for artists. And that's why I'm saying there's a clear choice because, I put myself forward with the community to say, hey, it's time to take back this office and it's time to restore integrity and honor to the office.
Wow. Hey, Bob, you said you missed talking about Marvin Thomas and some others. Did you want to clarify that?
I had to. I was talking about the mentors we had. I think about Danny Hicks, Sr. over in Southbridge, and Marvin Thomas, folks and Dr. Triumph, folks like that mentored me through the Neighborhood House and Maurice Pridgett. Those folks there, you just can't put a value on what they did for me. And I am forever grateful for their support. And even now, Maurice Pridgett texted me the day before yesterday just saying how proud he was of me for taking this step and would do everything to help me out in whatever he can. And it meant a lot knowing what he's meant to me. It's just those kind of guys. And ladies, Barbara Hicks, Mrs. White, those folks, man, it just wasn't one person.
It's a village.
It is totally a village, bro.
And Rob, when you have a crowded field like that, how do you get your message out compared to your other candidates?
The thing you have to do is, show the folks. A lot of these parents who know me from Warner, who I've interacted with, they know that, hey, I support them, and I mean the best for their youngsters, because I think of them like mine. So I don't know a parent out there that doesn't want the best for their child. And I take that with me and saying, hey, we can push them forward and make them successful, and without compromising anything. But as our mother said to us, it's a standard that we're not going to let you down from. It's still a standard, and that's not going to change for none of us. And I say that to them. It's nothing going to change for those youngsters in terms of what I think they can achieve.
Thank you. So, Ciro, what is your platform? What are some things that you would like to change on county council as county council president?
Well, in actuality, and I just want to pick up on what Robert's saying, hey, I believe too in education. I believe too in mentorship. I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, but I'm always concerned about that next generation. So you're always going to see young people around me, because I'm trying to not just teach them, but show them, live the example, and pave the way for them. Now, in terms of council, we actually have an all-star crew, two wonderful, in fact, county councilmen from the city of Wilmington, and our Democrats really form an all-star crew. But they're hungry for leadership. They've come to me and said, Ciro, we need someone who can run a meeting. We need someone who doesn't think they're the boss of us, but still can lead by example. So the number one thing I can do is not meddle too much. We really do have some all-stars, is just give the council what they're asking for. Someone who can lead a meeting, someone who can lead them by example. And I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing as the Register of Wills, which I've done as an Army officer, which I've done as a lawyer, which I've done as a teacher, and that is fight for our seniors, fight for our artists, fight for those who may have messed up in life and are looking for a second chance, especially the ability to get a pardon or expungement. I'm also going to fight for women's health. I mean, I take a lot of pride in my leadership of the Delaware Breast Cancer Coalition, and we know that breast cancer affects our women of color in greater numbers than others, and so I'm going to also be fighting for women's health.
You've said used some adjectives, Ciro, that I want to clarify. You said the person who came around the meeting. You talked about integrity. You talked about competency. I mean, you've thrown some real bombs. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, they
weren't subtle bombs. They were bombs.
They were bombs, and I think Norman, and those watching at home know, I'm not someone to tear others down. I don't tear others down. I look at positive, and I try to build everyone up. I see the positive in everything. But what I'm saying, I'm reflecting what council is saying, not just privately, but publicly in the news. They're looking for a president who can actually lead a meeting. They're looking for a president who can lead them by example and help them, not as being a boss, again, underscored, not by being a boss, not by lording over them, but simply saying, hey, we are a group of equals, and I will help lead this group of equals to get toward a greater purpose.
Okay, I understand. So, Rob, tell us a little bit about some things that you want to see changed in the school, because you have been in Warner School for a while, as you mentioned, right? And you've been like a disciplinarian, so you've got a first-hand, on the ground look at what's been going on.
Storm, one of the things I always advocate for is the resources. I just want to be sure, are they getting all the technology pieces that they need to learn for the next, this is a global economy out here. You have got to be, the technology needed to learn. And we need to make sure our youngsters throughout the city have that equipment to use it, whether it's the iPads, whether it's the Chromebooks. It's not just studying in the classroom anymore. It's also studying at home. And, these youngsters stay up all night trying to play games on the PlayStation. They could be on the Chromebook doing work and things of that nature, but they need the resources and the guidance to know what's expected even when they're not in school. And I think we just got to keep advocating for that to make sure they have all the tools without fail to be successful in life.
Brother Poppy, how long have you been serving as Recorder of Wills?
10 years, and that's
Wow.
you. I'm coming back to you because you, the night before the election, put me on television and helped me kick off my first victory. I have to come back and say thank you. It's been 10 wonderful years, and one of my thing that I'm most proud of is drafting the Seniors Bill of Rights. I'm also very proud that I run a very diverse division of government. We have 20 individuals. My chief deputy is a woman of color. It's probably the greatest decision I made 10 years ago, appointing her. She's done a fantastic job. We have a diverse office. And by listening to these different points of view and listening to my staff, it opens my own eyes. So it's a beautiful thing that we talk and communicate with each other. They say, Ciro, you got to think about this. Ciro, you got to think about that. And my staff, having a diverse staff, they pushed me to a great height. And as you know, and as I go around town bragging, I'm the Register of Wills who generated $2.5 million in found money that was just sitting on the table, found money for Newcastle County.
Hey, let me two things, Brother Poppy, that I would like for you to talk to people about. I know you were involved with pardons, which really hits our community very hard. And also, you're an adjunct professor at the University of Hawaii. So you don't know I know all this stuff, right?
Yes.
I study, man. I just seem like a guy like having fun. I really study.
You
I got
do.
a degree from Dover State University, Dover State, so it's important. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well,
Answer those questions.
I know you to be a learned fellow, Norman. So, well, I think they go hand in hand, don't they? As an attorney, as someone who has spent their career defending individuals, I realize, and I point the finger at myself, we've all gotten into a hole in our lives. We've all messed up some aspect of our lives, haven't we, gang? None of us is absolutely perfect. And when I look at individuals who may have messed up their lives, I look at them from an education standpoint. I look at them from a mentor standpoint. And I want to lead by example, but at the same time say, hey, I know you're in a hole, but if you want to get out of that hole, I'll help you get out. I'm trying to give a hand to get out of the hole and let folks know that from a legal perspective, from a lawyer's perspective, from an educator's perspective, from a government perspective, we want to throw off that shadow that is sometimes on individuals. We want to help them up so they can become truly productive citizens, so they can redeem themselves and have value. So it's something that has been near and dear to myself, near and dear to my wife, who is my equal and partner on these ventures. And we started something called the Delaware Pardon Initiative. And using our legal liability insurance, we go out and we help those who may not have access to justice. Okay, how can we clean up your record? How can we get you in line for that pardon? How can we get you in line for that expungement? Our work is never done. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. We were very happy to partner with our unions and trying to get our fellow brothers and sisters TWIC cards so they would be qualified to work at the port. That was a big thing to make sure that they could clean up their record, to have a job at the port. And again, sort of go together for me because it's from an education standpoint. And hey, I'm not perfect. I've been in a hole. I've messed up. Ciro has messed up. Others have helped me out of a hole. And I want to go back and turn and help others.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the show. We will be back next week with other guests. And next time, Ciro, what they don't know, this guy has a wine. He does wine, too. So maybe he'll bring me a nice bottle of wine. I could sit on the set and sip the wine and get my little drink on, say hi to people. Then I say hi to seniors. It look like Norm he's nodding. Yeah. Be up for that good Ciro wine. So we're gonna get out here. And thank you, Ivan. Thank DETV. Thank the whole staff. You guys do an excellent job. And woo, this thing's gonna kick off. I hear the mayor's going to have Mayor Mike Pazicki Corner, where he's going to have folks come on and talk about his legislative record. A lot of people are running, and it's going to be a fun time. I try to be clean. I try to be nice, but if it goes south, I'll go south too. I'm from Southbridge. So we out of here. Thank you.